Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you can take your seats, please. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Automotive Logistics China, India. Where the heck am I this week? Automotive Logistics Global 2014. My name's Louis Yakumi, and I'm the founder and publisher of the Automotive Logistics Group, who are the publishers of Automotive Logistics and Finished Vehicle Logistics magazines, organisers of the Automotive Logistics and Finished Vehicle Logistics conferences around the world, and we also produce the Automotive Logistics weekly newsletter, webinars, intelligence online, etc. You should all be, I hope you're all aware of us, but if not, I do think we're a good resource for your industry, so please subscribe, read, and interact with us and keep in contact with us. This year's conference, we're looking at how we can redesign the networks. That's the kind of operational stuff. But more important for me is how we kind of promote our industry. The kind of tagline was eliminating waste and adding value. But what I want to achieve in the next couple of days is to remind ourselves, remind the industry, remind the global automotive world that eliminating waste is what we're kind of known for. We're a cost, we're something that everybody wishes didn't exist. Logistics, we're just a pain. We're the department that when your boss calls you and wants to speak to the guys in logistics, you don't think, oh great, my boss is on the phone. You actually think, oh no, what's happened? Why is my boss on the phone? We've got to remind people about the value that automotive logistics adds. Eliminating waste is one way of looking at it, but another way of looking at it is adding to the bottom line, adding to the profit of the company. Cost saving is as important to adding to the profit as anything else. And the value that you add to the industry, customer service, customer retention, customer acquisition. With good finished vehicle logistics, you make the whole experience better for the customer. You make it better for the dealer, who's perhaps the car maker's original customer. And in the service part side, something similar. We provide great value to the dealer, to the end customer, make sure the customers are happy. We keep manufacturing, we enable manufacturing around the world through good logistics. We enable global purchasing. Try doing that without great logistics. Vehicle distribution around the world or locally. It's so important and something that automotive logistics as an industry does. We should never forget that. We should never forget how important what we do is. And we are what makes the automotive industry a global, efficient and viable industry. And on the point of global, Automotive Logistics Global this year is one of our Automotive Logistics live events. That means it's being streamed globally around the world. It's that we launched that last year at this conference to great success, and we've now introduced it to all of our conferences. And the feedback we get from that, you'd be amazed at the list of people who are already listening in from different regions, from China, from Asia, from Europe, from different parts of North America, from all around the world, listening to what we do. One of the reasons for that is Detroit is still the heart of the global automotive industry. When I travel around the world, I think every region wants to be the Detroit of India, the Detroit of China, the Detroit of anywhere around the world. I guess we're talking about the strength and the knowledge of the automotive industry as opposed to the economic side of being the Detroit of any region around the world. So, and Automotive Logistics Live, though, is not just about people around the world looking in and seeing what we're saying during the sessions. It enables us to communicate, to interact within the room. You'll be able to send us questions for the sessions so we can ask the audience, we can ask the panels, or to make comments by posting onto the website if you're shy and don't want to stand up. It enables you to interact with each other, in a more personal way by linking directly to some of the other delegates in the conference. So please, take advantage of that by using your tablets, your iPhones, or your laptops to log onto Automotive Logistics Live. You'll find the information on the inside back cover of the program, including how to how to use the Wi-Fi as well. The Wi-Fi is hosted and it's free, provided by, supported and hosted by ProTrans. So use the free Wi-Fi to have a better experience of Automotive Logistics Live. I think the conference started well yesterday with the cocktail reception. I love to hear the buzz at our networking sessions. I suppose it should perhaps really started earlier because I didn't go myself, but it started earlier with the golf day hosted by Jack Cooper. Again, the beginning of the networking, catching old friends, meeting new contacts, starting the business discussions from an early stage, then on to the cocktail reception, which was hosted by Wallenius Wilhelmsen Logistics. I suppose frustrating for me as a speaker, but the success of the event could probably be recognized by the fact that I couldn't get you all to shut up so I could make my opening speech. So I think you've got to realize that I treat this in many ways as my conference. I don't care if you're doing business and networking. When I want to say a joke or something, I expect you all to listen and laugh at the appropriate times. That's good, I like that. You're well trained already. And on that note, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors, really, the host of the gala dinner tonight, and the premier sponsors for the 15th year in a row of the Automotive Logistics Global Conference from day one, and really enabled us to build the conference globally in the way that it has developed. I'd like to thank Ryder for being our premier sponsor for so many years. Thank you, Ryder. I'd like to thank our global sponsor, Wallenius Wilhelmsen Logistics, who are so named because they sponsor all of our conferences around the world. And our gold sponsors, Air Charter Services, APL Logistics Vasco, SIVA, CTM, ICL, Jack Cooper, Penske, Pink, ProTrans, Sergere, UPDS, and XPO Logistics. And our silver sponsors, Cargo Base, FedEx, Flexis, Geodis Wilson, Goodpack, GT Nexus, Inform, KHS, Kinaxis, Landstar, Menlo, Neovia, Orbis, Royal International, Seco, Transfreight, TNT, United Road, and UTI. It's a long list, but two things. Firstly, that's what, in many ways supports our conferences. But also, it's great to know that there are so many companies who are ready and able to provide services for your industry. So please visit their stands, read their literature, meet their people. I'm sure that you'll find something there suitable for you, for your company as partners, suppliers, for the future. There's also a couple of exhibits outside, some trucks from CTM and some hail repairs. And that's useful to know. So if there's any heavy hailstorms in the next couple of days here in Detroit, you know where to go. Just a couple of kind of housekeeping notes. First of all, there was a prize draw made, or selection was made at the cocktail reception last night from Wallenius Wilhelmsen Logistics. And I wanted to present the prize. Because of the bad acoustics last night, we weren't able to present the prize. So I'd like to present the prize now to David Norton from Toyota. So if David's around. So David, I hope you enjoy the pretty paper bag with some blue tissue in it. And on the subject of kind of social media, please use your Twitter as well. It is a great medium of information. I don't even know what you call it, Twitter name is @LouisLogistics. So anybody who wants to tweet me or make themselves aware of who they are, we'd like to follow you. There's also @Auto Logistics, which is our general automotive logistics one. So please, anyone who's on Twitter, let us know that you're on Twitter. We'll follow you. We'll be interested in what you're saying, probably more professionally than anything else, rather than your selfies when you're on vacation or something like that. But that's enough from me for now, which I'm sure is all disappointing for you guys. But it's important also to look at the content. And today, We start off with a great first session looking at why logistics is important for the automotive industry. It's something that's running through everywhere I go, every meeting, wherever it is around the world. It's the message I'm trying to send out. So we've got a great panel here to let us know what it means, what different people are doing, whether it's regions, as in Michigan. We'll also be looking at the stats and forecasts on manufacturing and sales to see, what's going to be happening in the automotive industry and the important role that we'll be playing, that you guys will be playing to make sure that you support these, the new automotive environment. And then last but not least, a presentation from a vehicle maker on why logistics is important. So, we're very proud to host the conference in Michigan. It has been, I think, since the first conference was in Chicago, but the last 14 have been here in Michigan. Michigan's been through some tough times, but we felt it was our duty to remain in Michigan, and even the last couple of years, we've even moved it down to actually downtown Detroit to show in our own small way how important Detroit is for the global automotive industry. It's still our biggest conference because there's so many reasons to come to Detroit. You can come to the conference, of course, but you can set up so many meetings around it with the global car makers, with the parts suppliers and the other LSPs who are based here. So Michigan is still very important to us as automotive logistics, to us as the automotive logistics industry, and as I said earlier, it's still recognized as Motown around the world. So I'd like to welcome to the stage our first speaker of the day, Nigel Francis, the Senior Vice President for the Automotive Industry Office from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Thank you, Nigel.
Thanks very much. So good morning, everybody. I have two roles. One of them is that I'm the automotive advisor to the governor of the state of Michigan, Governor Rick Snyder. The second role is that I run the Automotive Industry Office within the state of Michigan. So firstly, what I'd do is I'd say a very, very warm welcome to those people that are not from Michigan to Detroit and Michigan. Our governor would say two things, I think. The first thing he'd say is that 4 out of 5 Great Lakes love Michigan. What does that mean? We're actually sitting here and you're surrounded by roughly 20% of the world's fresh water. That asset could become very, very important over the next generation or two, interestingly. And the second thing he'd say is he'd just point out that the water that we have is shark and salt free. So what does it mean to me? What it actually means to me is that the number one revenue stream in the state of Michigan is the automotive industry. We're here in Detroit, within an hour's drive of where we all are here today. There is absolutely everything that you would need to conceptualize, design, engineer, manufacture, sell, support, produce spare parts, deliver spare parts, etc., in the whole automotive value chain. And that's pretty unique. And I'd be remiss if I didn't remind us all that Michigan is the number one state for vehicle assembly, vehicle parts and components manufacturing, powertrain manufacturing. Number one state for automotive patents by so much, it's not true. We're like way out there. We have a patents office, which is the only patents office that's not in Washington, D.C., etc., etc. Interestingly, 75% of the US R&D spend in automotive is within 1 hour's drive of where we're sat here. So it's a great thing, and I think it's very logical and reasonable that you would have this conference here. So supply chain, logistics, and I guess some purchasing rolled in there as well. So I'll own up here, I'm an engineer. I have spent my career depending on the people in this room. And that was an interesting discussion that Louis had at the beginning. To me, I think that there is a baton that passes in the enterprise, in the automotive extended enterprise, It starts with the people that do the voice of the customer. It goes into the design studio. The baton then gets passed into design engineering. From there, it gets passed into the engineering phase. From there it gets passed into manufacturing. Okay, so where does supply chain management, logistics, and indeed purchasing fit into that? Well, interestingly, I've been lucky enough in my career to sit in the room with the CEO of a couple of car companies for regular meetings. And one of my previous colleagues, who was the head of supply chain management and purchasing of a car company, interestingly reminded the CEO that without him, the CEO would not be able to continue to keep his product gross margin and his retained earnings, because we live in an industry where faster, better, and, quotes, cheaper is important every hour of every day of every week of every month. And as you know, OEs want to see reductions in cost with better quality and faster delivery times every minute of every day. And it's the people in this room that actually realise that and make that happen. So I would argue that without that very important cog in the wheel, our industry would not be able to operate. So the slide that you're looking at the moment, I think it's very obvious to you, you know it, but I just want you to know that the state of Michigan understands that, and it might be unique that, here we are with government trying to help people. Oh, right, government trying to help people, right? So we do understand that just in time is important, and it will continue to be important. We do understand faster, better, and cheaper, and we also understand that there needs to be a robustness in the supply chain, because it's not acceptable for an OE to shut their doors because a supplier of anything that's being integrated into a vehicle doesn't deliver. Small story for you, which will tickle some of you, I'm sure. I've been in the role for a year now, and some of my government colleagues have said to me, "Man, you are all over everything." And I sort of said, "Well, what do you mean?" And they said, "Well, you're touching everything." And I said, "Well, that's the automotive industry, because surprise, a car company cannot deliver a vehicle out of the assembly line, the final assembly line, if it's got anything missing. And anything missing can be one little screw, one little washer, a little tab, a line of software. So unless all that can be brought together through the supply chain management and logistics, there is no deliverable product. Therefore, there's no sales and there's no earnings, and we know where companies go if they don't sell things and put money in the bank. Lastly, on this slide, I think technology becomes more and more important. And actually, within the work that we've done at the State of Michigan, we're very keenly aware and very focused on trying to understand what will happen with technologies, particularly around vehicle lightweighting and software and firmware content into vehicles. So just a few words on this, and you can actually pick up this information online. At the State of Michigan, we've produced an automotive strategic plan for the state. We did that by bringing together a global team of experts. We studied the global megatrends out 30 years into the future on a global basis, a NAFTA basis, and a regional Michigan-centric basis, and came up with some conclusions. We also have a supply chain management and logistics strategic plan for the state, and my colleague Peter Annister, who's in charge of that, who works with me, for me, I guess, is actually here. So we have our expertise deployed at the conference here, and we'd be delighted to talk to you. We believe that we have arguably the best supply chain management and logistics for automotive of anywhere in the world in the state of Michigan, and we intend to keep that truth true going forward. Our strategic plan is summarized in this, and the engineers love this because it looks like a house of quality, so it piques their attention. It's like Six Sigma, man, I've got to pay attention here. Okay, so here's our house of quality, or our house of strategic automotive. 3 core pillars: technology, talent, and capital. We need to have the right technologies in place at the right time. with the right talent behind those technologies. And oh my dear, it's a globally, fully globalized industry, so we need to compete with the world. Michigan is not competing with a state next door, it's competing with every other country in the world. That's our opinion. On the technology side, there's 4 enduring technologies that we identified. Pay attention to the 4th one. The first is connected, automated, and autonomous vehicles. The second is lightweight and multi-material vehicles. The third is advanced powertrain and propulsion systems. And the last one, world-class manufacturing, supply chain management, and logistics. Because we recognize that without a preeminence in supply chain management and logistics, the true value of the automotive enterprise and the automotive business model cannot be realized. So here's a few words actually from my colleague Peter Annister, because he's the supply chain management expert. And what you can see is that there are a large number of compelling reasons for operating in the state of Michigan. And going forward, we would feel that with vehicle lightweighting becoming more and more predominant, people need to keep their eye on whether we're going to see a transition to more air freight from existing road and rail freight. There will need to be a supply chain that develops that will be virtual. Currently, a very sophisticated top-end Cadillac has got maybe, certainly tens of millions of lines of code on it. Interestingly, a jumbo jet, a modern, large, long-haul aircraft, has got about 6.5 million lines of code on it. So we all get, we all get our Starbucks and or whatever, Big B's Michigan-based, right? We get onto that aircraft, we sit down with 400 other people, and it flies on autopilot with a positional accuracy of 1,000 feet. Autonomous vehicles, they're going to be out on the road. Not tomorrow, but very soon. They're going to have a positional accuracy of about 25 millimeters. In Christian units, that's 1 inch. Not 1,000 feet, 1 inch. Where's the technology base? It's in automotive. So what's sitting here in the Midwest? We have this abundance of logistics. We truly believe that there's a lot of discussion about business to business, business to business. I've spent my life where actually it's person to person, because I believe that businesses have people and people buy from other people. So fundamentally, we believe in Michigan that everything ultimately comes down to, have you got the right talent in the right place at the right time? And we're blessed in the state of Michigan in automotive and supply chain management and logistics of having not only the largest concentration of those experts, but also some true experts that have got us to where we are today, and we need to have those people to take us forward into the future. So collaboration. Collaboration has always been important. It's going to continue to be important and get more and more important. Money's going to be an issue. Surprise, the federal government's probably bankrupt. Surprise, there's not a lot of money in the system. And we need to understand how we're going to take a very capital-intensive industry forward and the infrastructure that capital-intensive industry needs. That money's going to come from public-private partnerships. Public-private partnerships. It's not just going to come from the federal government. It won't just come from the state. It won't just come from one industrial partner. More and more, we're going to see the federal government working closely with a state or a number of states and with an industry partner, or more likely a number of industry partners. Pay attention to that is what we'd say. And those collaborations, more and more we believe in automotive, will crush national barriers and actually stretch out across the world. So indeed, there could well be a supply chain management and logistics requirement that is truly global, that is truly cross-international borders, that actually crosses the different free trade agreements that exist across the world, that actually crosses the competitive elements between one car company and another. So I alluded to this earlier, but at the moment, supply chain management and logistics certainly historically has been about moving physical things from one place to another. Well, our work shows that over the next 30 years, the most likely changes in what constitutes an automobile, a consumer product, is going to be a slightly smaller vehicle, but not radically smaller in the US. There will be increased application of electric and hybrid electric vehicles, but they will not completely dominate. Those vehicles are likely to be made more and more of aluminum and composites and plastics, but not completely. And the interiors of those vehicles are likely to be very significantly decontented, such that the smarts split into two areas. There'll be smart technologies that control the vehicle and smart technologies that communicate to and from the infrastructure, other people, and other vehicles. What does that mean? What that means is you're going to see a whole load of electronics and more and more and more software. I cannot overemphasize more and more electronics, more and more software. That could radically change your businesses. Because at the moment, if you're shipping an instrument panel or an instrument cluster or some gauges from one state to another, from one side of the world to another, should they go away, you're suddenly going to be shipping something else. So my message would be, please pay attention to that, because you're still going to be needed to be on your game 24/7, 365, just-in-time delivery. The question is, just-in-time delivery of what? So for me, the whole industry, the future of automotive is all about very large-scale global collaboration. Very, very large-scale global collaboration. And we're just about to launch a tag phrase in Michigan. I'm a bit ahead of the curve, so my marketing colleagues will kill me. And of course, we're not really on YouTube here at the moment, so they won't know about it. So we're just in the process of going out to a tagline that says, "We run on brain power," because we believe that the intellectual content of the automotive industry will increase, and it needs to be in Michigan. So at that, I've got a 3-minute movie that I'd just like to show you, and hopefully you'll be able to relate to it. And if I can't do it, they will do it at the back for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nigel. A great start to the conference. We are indeed very proud to have our conferences in Michigan and in Detroit. We're proud of our relationship with Detroit, Michigan, and I'm sure we'll be here for many years to come. Very pleased to see that one of your pillars, the fourth pillar, is world-class supply chain management and logistics, because I still think it's undervalued in general in the automotive industry. I'm pleased to see the efforts that you're making and the initiatives to improve this in the region. And because Michigan's such an important player for the global automotive industry, it'll have a big impact on what happens globally. My only kind of concern is we run on brain power. I'm just glad that's not our slogan at Ultima Media, or otherwise I could be in trouble. Next up, to give us the facts and figures and forecasts on how the automotive industry is going to develop, to help us plan what you guys are going to be doing over the next few years, I'd like to welcome to the stage Kevin Roberts, Senior Analyst from PwC Autofacts. Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, so my task is kind of difficult. I'm supposed to give a 10-minute spiel about what's going on in the automotive industry globally. So a little difficult to do that, but I'm going to try. So we're going to go over what's going on within the global industry. I lead the North American forecast within Autofacts. We do a quarterly light vehicle assembly forecast. So if I spend a little more time on North America, I apologize. It's generally what I spend most of my time on. So let's dig into what's going on with the global industry. To explain the chart that you're looking at a little bit, the red bar there is giving you the assembly volume on a global basis. The gray chart is giving you excess capacity. So how much capacity is out there in the industry that is not being utilized currently. And the yellow line is actually giving you the utilization rate. So how much assembly, how much capacity is out there, how much of that's actually being utilized. A few key takeaways there. One, industry is growing massively on a global scale. We'll break down in the next few slides where that growth is coming from, but it is a global industry and it is still growing globally. Secondly, there's a lot of investment being put into the industry right now. You can see that in the excess capacity. A lot of new plants are being installed globally. And that's a trend we're going to see continue going forward. Thirdly, utilization sitting around 80% near the end of the forecast window. As an analyst, we take that as a good thing. Generally, industry consensus is utilization rate around 80% is extremely healthy. So if the overall global industry is sitting around 80%, it's a good overall sign. You can see that during the Great Recession, we were not sitting at 80%. So we've seen some pretty marked recovery. So I mentioned global growth. Let's take a look at where that growth is actually coming from. When we're looking globally, I think let's look at the two outliers on that chart first. First one, developed Asia Pacific. We actually have declining 3.1%. You might be saying, Kevin, you just told me the global industry is growing. Why is one of the regions actually declining? A few reasons. First is that Australian assembly is going to end for all OEMs by the end of 2017. So we actually have one country ceasing to produce any vehicles. So that is one major reason why we're seeing a decline. Secondly, the other two major countries within developed Asia Pacific are Japan and South Korea. And automakers from those countries are currently focused on localizing their assembly in the markets where they're actually selling the vehicles and no longer just producing the vehicles in their home countries and exporting them. So that is why you're seeing an overall decline with regards to overall assembly in developed Asia Pacific. Conversely, developing Asia Pacific, 60.3% of the growth in our forecast. So kind of a tale of two Asia Pacifics there. We'll see who's contributing mostly there, but not surprisingly, China is your largest contributing market to that 60.3%. Additionally, ASEAN countries and India are also helping to provide some significant growth. Going over to North America, you'll see 12.2% growth there. Good, healthy growth. We've basically got a lot of our recovery growth already taken care of within North America. A few years ago, you would have seen the number be significantly larger. We were coming out of such a crater from the Great Recession. So 12.2% now. A lot of that is kind of rebuilding some of the capacity for your domestic OEMs, and we're seeing a lot of new assembly going in and capacity going in for your new domestic OEMs within the region. South America, 7.6%. A lot of that's coming from Brazil. Brazil put out some pretty aggressive governmental policies a few years ago to try to get new investment within Brazil, and it's working. There's a lot of new plants that are currently forecasted to go into Brazil, as OEMs are looking to take care of lower import tariff rates there. And then looking at European Union, for a long time that had relatively low growth. We think we've reached bottom in the European Union. We're seeing growth picking up within that region as kind of a delayed downfall that was taking place due to all the scrappage schemes that were taking place in Europe a few years ago. So we're starting to see some nice growth there. And in East Europe, you'll see 5.9% growth there. That's at the end of our forecast window of 2020. Obviously, some kind of alarming things going on there right now, but as of now, no automakers have announced any long-term changes to their plans for the region, so we're still seeing some growth. So we looked at things from a regional level, so let's look at a market level. China appears to have disappeared there because it's so massive. Over 11 million units of growth from 2013 to 2020. By far the single largest market with increases there. Every global OEM has announced multiple plants within China. That's really where a lot of that growth is coming from. Second largest growth market, India. Again, not that surprising based on its overall population size. Similarly, a lot of OEMs are looking to put new assembly within India to try to take advantage of that growth. I guess the third one, U.S., kind of surprising, as you tend to think as U.S. is kind of flat on a manufacturing level. But it is the third largest growing market that we have on there. U.S. still remains the largest single assembly market within North America. And a lot of that growth you're seeing there is either new domestic OEMs putting plants into the Detroit South region, and your domestic Detroit 3 OEMs really starting to expand their overall existing capacity within the U.S. Fourth on the list, Brazil. Already kind of went over that. What's going on with the government helping to increase overall investment within the region. And the fifth one, Mexico. Mexico has become a very hot topic. I know it's being discussed additionally at this conference. It's the hot market right now within North America. Based on their large number of free trade agreements, a lot of announcements have been made to put additional capacity into Mexico. Conversely, Canada is actually seeing an overall reduction in forecasted assembly, and that's primarily due to product changing plants and an additional plant closure within Canada. Japan also seeing a decline due to the fact of localizing that assembly out of Japan into the markets to kind of reduce their overall currency volatility risk. In Australia, we already highlighted that they're going to be ceasing operations. So looking at it from an Alliance Group point of view, don't want to kind of get stuck going through each OEM and their overall perspective. Just kind of want to highlight here that we're forecasting massive amount of growth for each OEM out there. Every major OEM group is forecasted to have a very significant increase in overall assembly volume on a global basis going forward. Most of that growth, if you're seeing rather large, is coming from China. Generally, all your large OEMs have pretty significant investments already announced for China. Additional 1, 2, 3 plants going in. You'll see some of the other players might not have as much growth, especially from your developed Asia Pacific region OEMs. And that's primarily whereas they're refocusing where their assembly is actually be headquartered out of. So kind of went over where we see things going on a global assembly basis. For the next few slides, going to change point of view slightly and get into more of the component side of things. This chart's showing you the overall engine consumption rate on a global basis. So the significant thing you want to notice here is that around 2005, we had an overall engine displacement around 2.3 liters. And by the end of 2020, we're around 1.9. That's a pretty significant reduction. A lot of that is coming from North America, where we're seeing vehicles that used to have V8s go down to V6s, and V6s go down to i4 engines. There is a proliferation of i3 engines coming on the market now, and we're expecting to see even further reduction in overall engine displacement size as we go further. So how are you able to do that? Well, firstly, you're going to see bolt-on technology like direct injection and turbocharging, which is helping increase the overall combustion's horsepower and really keep that engine out ahead of, well, alternative fuel technology. This is our global alternative fuel technology outlook. You can see that we have rather measured growth within alternative fuels throughout our forecast window. By the end, we're looking at around 5.5% overall global consumption of these technologies. So this is all your hybrids, mild fold, plug-in, pure electric, and PHEV and fuel cell vehicles. So you can see that while we do see growth for this technology going forward, we're not kind of seeing a mass adoption or any major pushes out there, absent some rather large government interventions and policies put into place. So as iOS 8 is coming out today, I guess my one last thing is Autofacts has an Analyst Note app on the App Store. So if you want to go quickly and scan that QRC, feel free to download it. It's a monthly publication that we put out with a little bit of thought leadership for you. And if you are a Droid user, rest assured we're working on getting that put in for you as well. So that is it for my slides. Louis?
Thank you very much, Kevin. And it has been a pleasure last couple of years to hear positive news on, on the forecast that we're hearing from the analysts. So that's good, and it was good to see it again this year as well. Especially North America's holding up well. But on our trips around the world, we found that there is this positivity continuing globally. Obviously, for many reasons, Russia's is the exception. But we just come back from India, and I was pleased to see that being a little bit more positive as well, after that being on a very flat note for a year or so. Next up, we'll be hearing someone who is proud of being in the automotive logistics industry and to share with us the value of automotive logistics. I'd like to welcome to the stage Ben Shain, Director of Logistics for Nissan North America. Thank you, Ben.
Good morning. My name is Ben Shain. I'm the Director of Logistics for Nissan North America. My area of responsibility covers the U.S. and includes production parts logistics, outbound vehicle distribution, service parts, transportation, international logistics, and packaging engineering. That sounds like a lot, and believe me, some days it is. Before I get started, I'd like to thank Louis and his team for putting on another first-class event this year. The chance to get together with other logistics professionals and exchange ideas is something I look forward to every year. I was requested to discuss why is logistics important to the automotive industry. And for me, logistics connects the links in the supply chain. A lot of people, when doing a presentation on logistics or even supply chain, will use a chain to show how things are tied together. Sorry, Nigel, I think you had a slide in one of your presentations. The problem with that is it shows the connections directly in front of or directly behind the event or process in question. The jigsaw puzzle used here shows that one part of the logistics flow can impact several other parts, and the picture does not become complete until all parts of the network come together. The first piece of logistics is the need to deliver damage-free. And at a time during which our supply networks are growing longer, with the addition of overseas suppliers, tasks such as obtaining proper packaging both in quantity and durability become even more important. It does us no good to lower our shipping costs by putting more in a container if the parts arrive damaged. And the same can be said for putting more vehicles on a rail car or a carrier. The measure of damage to parts and vehicles are one of the key performance indicators that everyone in my group tracks on a regular basis. Next is low cost. Low cost is something that everyone in this room is concerned with. And at Nissan, we're always trying to develop not only breakthrough ideas, but we also try to continually improve in small steps. To use a baseball analogy, not everyone can hit a home run every time, but by hitting enough singles, we can score enough runs to win. And at Nissan, we nurture the environment of improvement by utilizing cross-functional teams, by regularly rotating managers and putting a fresh set of eyes in a group. What exactly is market ready? What does it mean? To put it simply, it's putting the right widget in the right place at the right time. You can substitute vehicle part or service part in the place of a widget and you get the idea. Streamlining logistics and increasing logistics intelligence are key to being able to do this. The challenge we are in the midst of at Nissan is launching over 50 new major model updates across the globe. And within the U.S., one key launch we have coming up is the 2015 Murano at our Canton plant. We'll transfer this production from Japan, and this move will allow us to respond faster to changes in the market. The trim levels can be changed based on customer preferences much quicker than if the car is still being built in Japan. This is just one example of what we're doing to get the product to the market faster and streamline our logistics. What is the best organizational structure to tie these requirements together? At Nissan, we're not the biggest, nor are we the smallest, and what works for one will not work for all. The challenge we face is how much management should be centralized and how much should be at the point of attack. And our balance is one that we're always evaluating. We've adapted our organizations as the demands have changed. And with the growth of exports, both parts and vehicles, it's created new or expanded organizations within the logistics group. A logistics organization is not needed unless you have something to ship or somewhere to ship it to or from. Here's a brief overview of our plants, our outbound routes, and our supply base. Our U.S. vehicle assembly plants are located in Smyrna, Tennessee, and Canton, Mississippi. Smyrna is the biggest manufacturing plant in the region. There we produce alone 3.5% of cars sold in the U.S. We produce the Altima, the Maxima, the Rogue, Pathfinder, Leaf, and the Infiniti QX60. In Canton, where we're celebrating 10 years, we're producing the Altima, the Frontier, the Xterra, the Titan Armada, and NV vans. And later this fall, global production of the Murano with export opportunities to over 100 countries. We've also incorporated the inbound parts for 2 production plants in Deckard, Tennessee that are capable of producing 1.65 million engines annually, as well as the electric motors for the all-electric Nissan Leaf. These plants are running nonstop, 5, often 6 days per week. And the challenge for my group is to make sure we're fully utilizing the inbound and outbound networks to make sure we do not interrupt the flow of material to the manufacturing process or the movement of finished vehicles to the dealers. And with this model of complexity, it's a real challenge. Nissan has significant presence in Mexico, where we're the market share leader with approximately 25% market share. We have 3 manufacturing facilities in Mexico, 2 in Aguascalientes and 1 in Cuernavaca. Cuernavaca was Nissan's first plant to be open outside of Japan and has been in operation since 1966. We recently announced plans for a 3rd plant in Aguascalientes in a joint venture with Daimler. That's where the vehicles come from. Now where do they go? Here's a map of our railheads and ports. We receive our Japan product into the West Coast, into Los Angeles, and on the East Coast, Jacksonville, Newport, and Newark. We utilize short sea to bring the Mexican product into the East Coast into Jacksonville, Baltimore, and Newark. Our ramp map here mirrors other OEMs, and we use about 30 railheads throughout the United States. Where the vehicles go is one part of the logistics equation. The other part is where the parts come from. Our supplier map follows I-75, I-65 corridors. With the move of the Murano from Japan, we have expanded our supply base, and these suppliers here are shown in blue. We share many of the suppliers with other OEMs, and as you can see by these two maps, we have a lot of things moving by land, sea, and rail. To put our network in perspective, we're managing over 1,000 inbound deliveries daily. And with each delivery, we're dependent on the performance of our suppliers' ability to provide the parts we need, the ability of logistics providers to coordinate, schedule, monitor, and track, and manage the movement of the parts, and do it seamlessly every hour, every day, whatever the weather challenges. I've been told more than once by plant managers that they prefer to manage their plants where they have the visibility to what's going on inside their four walls, where they can see the people, the operation, where they can have control over day-to-day issues versus managing an operation that incorporates hundreds of different manufacturing operations, often spread across the globe, with risk known and sometimes unknown. The question that those of us in supply chain often receive is, so how do you sleep at night? It's all about contingency planning and have a comfort level. We've covered all the what-if scenarios with a sound plan for how to react when challenges occur. Risks come in many shapes and sizes, and when looking at extended supply chains, normally reaching across long distances, different countries, different regions, political climates, you name it. The list of risks here could go on, and companies are learning from experience what they need to be looking for. What we want to make sure is we're keeping total delivered costs under control and going down. With an industry where the TIV seems to have more ups and downs than a Disney thrill ride, we face constant threats of geopolitical turmoil. We still somehow manage to move parts and vehicles around the country and even around the world to support one of, if not the most important industries in the country. We'll continue to evolve as the demands of our customers keep our company moving. The four puzzle pieces are what it's all about. Quality and cost drive our business. Everyone here knows and tracks certain costs per mile, per container, per vehicle, whatever means the most to your business. We also know that our damage rates, or our clients make sure we know them. Market ready. Speed to delivery is the third piece. Right part, right place, right time. It's really that simple. With regards to organizations, logistics is and always will be a people business. And the biggest contribution employees in my organization make is a reduction or elimination of risk or obstacles. You cannot ship parts or vehicles in the volumes that we do without hitting a bump or two in the road. People can solve these problems better than any machine, and just as logistics is important to the auto industry, people are the driving force of logistics, and that is you. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss logistics within Nissan and the industry as a whole.
Thank you very much, Ben, and giving us examples of why logistics is so important to the global automotive industry. A running theme through that is people. We run on brain power and we run on people. It's not all about big data or analytics. It's the people that matter, and that's why we're very proud to have so many of the top people in the industry here with us today, and that's why our conferences work. It's because of you guys, the people, meeting, sharing ideas face to face, not always just by going by the numbers. But on the other hand, it's a little bit worrying when we say we run on brain power and the people are the driving force, because as I look out in front of me, I can see this could be a worrying factor for the global automotive logistics industry. But now it's time for the Q&A or comments. You can use the Automotive Logistics Live system through your apps, through your iPads or tablets or smartphones. But priority will be given to people in the room. So if you've got any questions, please raise your hands, wait for the microphone. We're being streamed live, so don't forget to say hi, Mum, or to any of your family when you ask the question. But I'll ask the first question about, we kind of talked about automotive logistics, automotive supply chain management is really important, is vital to the success. World-class supply chain management and logistics is vital for the automotive industry. But my concern is still it's something that isn't really recognized at the highest levels in the automotive industry. So I'll ask the question to Nigel and to Ben, really. As you're doing your research and finding out what's important for for Nigel, development of the automotive industry in Michigan, do the people that you talk with really understand the value of supply chain management and logistics, or is it purely seen as something of a waste and something that as a cost cutter? Nigel.
I guess we're using this or the.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent. Then we're using this. So I think absolutely it's recognised and understood. I think the value is clear, but perhaps the value is clear at the C-suite. I'm involved in discussions pretty much on a week-by-week basis with the largest car companies in the world. There's a big discussion going on this morning, last night and this morning actually, and the absolute issue is logistics costs. Everything else is pretty much the same no matter where you put this facility, this very large facility. The people costs are, 5 or 6% of the total cost of the vehicle, so the people costs pretty much wash out. It all comes down to in and outbound logistics costs, and I think that there's a renewed relevance of logistics, and particularly the costs of logistics at the very highest levels in all of the car companies and the very large suppliers. That's what I see. Mm.
But Nigel, my concern there is the fact that you talk about logistics costs. Of course it's important. Any part of any industry, you've got to focus on the cost. But my concern is that we still see logistics purely as cost, and that instead of saying, logistics costs are there for a reason, it's just seen as a cost. Yep. It isn't a value, and that maybe it's just language, maybe it's just words. But that's my concern, that it's all about reducing the logistics cost as opposed to recognizing the value that it adds.
Yeah, that's an interesting statement. As I said during my presentation, one of my very, very good friends took it upon himself to remind our CEO at that time that without him in place, the CEO would see a decreasing product gross margin on a year-on-year basis, and that was not going to be a good thing. The second thing I'd say is I think, if you reflect on the role that I have at the moment, I'm representing the automotive industry in the state of Michigan. We're sat here in a state that has been through a very bad time. We are in a very strong comeback situation, turnaround situation, which is driven by automotive. We're sat in Detroit, Michigan, which is coming out of bankruptcy, which is being turned around by some excellent management together with a huge amount of automotive content. So I think that maybe your industry's got sort of similar problem to me, which is that there's a perception issue, and the way you change a perception issue is that you promote the messaging and the points that are the new truths, not the old truths. And the new truths, I believe, for supply chain management and logistics are that it has always been important, perhaps taken for granted, because of course you're also good at it, because everybody knows when it goes wrong, because the final assembly plant stops and vehicles stop shipping, right? So I think maybe there is a change going on in your industry, and what you should be doing is promoting those changes and and the renewed value of supply chain management and logistics in the automotive value chain.
And Ben, to you as a car maker, you gave us a very interesting presentation about the value of it, but do you get a chance to send that message up and, up right to the top? And when are we going to see, a chief supply chain officer on the board sitting next to Carlos Ghosn or whoever?
Are we on the mic here?
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, as far as logistics visibility and, value within the organization, we're certainly seeing more recognition within our executive management, whether it be as we plan out, for new models, new volumes, whether it's, capacity on the rail side or the haulaway side. You mentioned earlier in presentations the complexity of vehicles. That's becoming more visible because with vehicles that get put on hold for new model launch, there's an increased amount of visibility to that as we talk about getting a vehicle speed to the market. And then along with that, managing our cost. There's been a much higher degree of focus within our management, understanding not only our cost but our abnormal cost.
Okay. Thank you. So, chance for you to make your points, ask your questions, or any comments from the floor. So, if you'd like to raise your hand, and we'll have a microphone. Anyone else apart from Mark? Come to the front, please.
Louis, Mark Ellis, Global Industry Director of Jodis. Louis, you'd made a point earlier about logistics being the end, not just in automotive, but logistics being the end of the business. I think it's a fair comment that most of us in this room, when we were at school, didn't know what logistics was. I think it's a fair comment that everybody in this room, when they were at school, certainly didn't want to be in logistics because we didn't know what it was. And I think if we go outside of the industry, that 95% of the people walking down the street still don't know what it is. Now, the comments have been made through the first set of presentations that the first was talking about brain power and we need to be smart. And yet Nissan was saying to us that actually our 4 pieces of the jigsaw, we want to make it simple. Isn't it really that we have to be smart to make it simple?
To the panel? Yeah.
Let me try to say a few words about that, certainly from the state of Michigan. What I said we did during the presentation was that we studied the global megatrends out to just past 2040, so just 30 years or so into the future. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on. And, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by some super smart people, and we were able to debate what that meant a lot, with some great learnings. I think you alluded to it, Louis, that, not everybody in the room is under 30 by any means, right? And that's a common thing within the automotive industry for sure. So, we've got some perception issues that need to change, certainly in the state of Michigan, and we're working on that, because perception is reality, but the truth and the perception don't match in today's Michigan. So we're working on that, and we believe that the solution there is pretty much a globally relevant marketing campaign. Now, why would we do that? Well, we need the talent. We've got to have, we believe that everything revolves around the talent. And more those people are going to need to be smarter and smarter and smarter, because it's a very, very super smart, super aggressive, highly dynamic industry. So what we need to do is we need to create an environment in the future in the state of Michigan in which young people of the future will want to live and work. So it comes back to this live and work thing, and there's been some surveys, and each of the great consulting companies are doing surveys on talent, and there might be something you want to say about that. But on the talent side, we see that young people are not being pushed into STEM or STEAM education and then industries. And I think supply chain management and logistics, there's a huge amount of analytics and mathematics that go on in the background there. It's really a STEAM or STEM discipline.
I mean, one thing you can look at is we tend to view things from a North American point of view when we're talking over here, but I feel the auto industry as a whole in other markets is much more attractive than it is here, I feel. And when you look at the North American point of view, especially when you look at it from a Detroit point of view, it can be sometimes hard to get people to want to move into the auto industry. But when you actually look at things on a global scale, it's viewed as an exciting industry that people actually want to move into. So very much a regional dynamic type issue on that front.
Yeah, I think we're actually at a cusp of change. What we believe is that we're at a cusp of change in relation to, auto and attracting, and I'm talking wide auto, not just engineering auto, the whole extended enterprise. We're going to move rapidly into a phase where vehicles are going to become super sexy again to the average person, not just the person who's always thought they're super sexy, right? The car girls and guys. And as that happens, we have an opportunity as an industry to attract back people into that industry to take the industry forward, generation on generation on generation. And indeed, there's an initiative going on at the moment in the state of Michigan to actually bring a smart showcase into the North American International Auto Show that pings off the work that's just happened here last week with the Intelligent Transportation Systems conference. I believe that what we're doing will help everybody. It's not just intended to help design, engineering and manufacturing. It's intended to help the complete extended enterprise within automotive because it has to. If we don't have everything working together like an engine, it doesn't work.
But just to come back to you again, Nigel, is we visited as Automotive Logistics. Wayne State University do an automotive supply chain competition where they invite students from all across North America and give them, challenges or a particular project on a realistic automotive supply chain challenge. The different universities try and find solutions and come up with great ideas. Then they come to a final, kind of competition to see who's the winner. And we talked to some of the students afterwards, and one of the things is that very few of them actually want to work in automotive. I think they still want to work for Google or Amazon or Alibaba or whatever the next one's going to be. And the ones who do want to work in automotive, I'm not sure if they want to work in Michigan. So your thoughts on that?
Well, provocative discussion, and I love it, right? I love it. So the first thing I'd say is, as the content in the vehicle transitions from what it is today to the vehicles of the future, there are going to be a few large companies that are not currently that present in automotive that will become very, very important. Companies that could be in that frame would be Google, Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, and some others. Apologies to the people. I'm trying to be Switzerland here, so whoever I've missed out, I meant to include you. So don't you think that when that happens, those companies will be dealt with the same way as they're dealt with, as supply companies are dealt with by car companies right now, which is, okay, well, we'd love to have you in our family and be supplying to us. We need you to be broadly in this location. And so I think that as the content on the vehicle changes to be more electrical, electronic and software centric than it currently is today, those very large companies will get incredibly interested in this business, which is very lucrative, the automotive business, and they will locate in Michigan. And because they are here, the people that currently might wish to be, in California, for example, will come here. And, and I've got to say it, I'm sorry, but I've got to say it. Yeah. Firstly, fresh water, no sharks. Okay, first thing. Right? Second thing is, I have a buddy who just moved from here to California to actually run a company, and he is in so much pain and anguish right now, it's not true. He's gone from a $300,000 mortgage to a $1.5 million mortgage and halved the size of his house. His standard of living has dropped through the floor even though he got a 30% pay rise. Yeah? So there's issues. Yeah? We worry about traffic, you know. I mean, if you think traffic's bad here, go to, you know, get off a plane in Los Angeles and move around. I mean, there's issues. Yeah? I think we've got in front of us a wonderful opportunity to get back right at the top of our game, and we're really moving in that direction, both in automotive, across the world, and in Michigan. And now's the time to be taking assertive action.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no, I see.
So a question over there first, please.
Is it on? Oh, there we go. Ed Traub from Metaldyne. This question is for Mr. Francis, and it's more in regards to the purchasing rather than logistics. We've been trying for 5 or 6 years now, and I'm wondering if you have an update as far as the electricity and promoting, retaining, growing the manufacturing base in Michigan. The cost of electricity is 40% greater in Michigan than it is in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, similar manufacturing bases because of the deregulation and the 10% cap. Yep. When is that going to change, and when is Michigan going to step up and make it a level playing field for those that are not within the 10% cap?
Okay, so thank you for the question. What I'll do is the people that actually know me know that I'm very much what you see is what you get. So the honest answer is I'm aware of it, but I don't know the details. What I'd like you to do, if you would, is come see me when we've finished here, because one of my colleagues is in charge of that, and I will make sure that you get an up-to-date status. I am aware of it broadly. I'm also aware that there's more natural gas underneath the lower peninsula of Michigan than there is anywhere else, I believe, on the US continent. And there are discussions going on about how that might be able to mitigate, actually move us from a position where we're running with the pack rather than at the front of the pack in relation to energy costs. But I'm also aware that that same energy source is also, the Department of Defense have their eye on it at the federal level, okay, so there's sort of a bit of a discussion there, if that helps.
I will come see you, but it's such an easy way for us to save money rather than taking out or doing VA exercises, things like that. I mean, it's millions of dollars for our company alone. I imagine a lot of people are in the same position. So we've talked to the governor, we've written letters, so I will come see you and talk.
Yeah, and I appreciate it if you would, and I mean, don't think I haven't got the point. I've got the point because I'm embarrassed in front of 1,000 people here, so I will remember. But you've done no. But seriously, we understand it. I just can't answer your question in a professional manner here at the moment, and I don't want to give you an answer which is not accurate. That's really what I'm saying. Understood, and thanks for the question.
Thank you. Next question. There's over there.
Good morning, Thor Oxnard. I'm the National Manager for Parts and Accessories for Toyota Motor Sales. So first, Nigel, I did get off a plane from Los Angeles, and you're right, it's crowded and expensive. So this is a question, probably Ben, well done, by the way. You know, we've talked a lot about brain power, and one of the ways we can show brain power is by consolidating supply chains. You'd mentioned finished vehicle logistics, production parts, service parts. If you're anything like Toyota, you probably have a different supply chain for each of those, even though you're picking up and delivering at the same points. Has Nissan done anything with maybe consolidating supply chains between service parts, accessories, production parts, finished vehicles? And do you see any value in that?
Sure. Thank you, Thor. In regards to combining networks, we've done some with the production parts and also maybe export or service parts, but really no combination of the finished vehicle. So we're continuously looking at that, you know, trying to optimize where we can. What we found is in a lot of cases the barriers or the systems being able to have that order go to the supplier and be able to manage that complexity.
Thank you. And Thor, in your panel tomorrow, one of your fellow panel members, Alex Kobilecki, is doing that very thing for Ford. So hopefully that'll help you as well. More questions?
Good morning. Christopher Ludwig, Automotive Logistics. First question's for Ben. You talked about global risks and how any logistics manager can sleep at night. One of the risks that we've seen recently in North America has been right here with the weather last winter, and it's coming again, and people talking about it being as bad or worse. So I just wonder, looking ahead, while it's still sunny in Smyrna and Canton, what are you doing to anticipate some of that possibly? Is there any kind of contingency planning that you're looking at, whether it's inbound or outbound?
Yep. Thank you for the question, Christopher. We're doing a lot right now, meeting with our carriers, trying to understand really, what is the capacity, what are our contingency plans, as we look at the launch of our Murano that we're gearing up for in November, December timing. We've really taken a hard look at all the what ifs and trying to have something in place so that when those issues come up, we have something that we can put in place immediately to mitigate.
Question for Nigel. To what degree does your association work with other state governments? I'm just thinking about, Tesla plant in Nevada, I think something like $100,000 per job was paid by the state, and when you take in all the tax incentives and things, and just to what extent do you see that kind of distorting the supply chain, states kind of maybe taking, sometimes it's a zero-sum game really between the two. So what sort of cooperation across states so you're not necessarily competing for the same job?
Yeah, interesting question. I think fundamentally our governor is running the state as if it was a business. So certainly from my perspective, and these are now my words, not his, please, they're my words, I would say that our focus is on Michigan. And Michigan is the corporate name, and Michigan is what we're trying to do. And my job is to increase the top line, the revenue stream of the state of Michigan in the automotive sector. However, it's not quite as simple as that, is it? Because if you actually sit here in Detroit, where we are now today, there's parts that can be sequenced from northern Ohio, the Toledo area for sure, because it's 50, 60 miles away. I mean, it's certainly within an hour's drive that could be sequenced into the Jefferson North plant, for example, just along the road here. Those parts can be sequenced across the international border coming from Canada into the US. Of course, it will be greatly de-risked with a new bridge, and of course, don't wish to get into the politics of a new bridge, but looking at the rationale and the practicality in relation to the automotive industry, let's have a new bridge because it's a de-risking factor in the supply chain. So do we collaborate? I think that the honest answer is that we collaborate state to state wherever it makes sense for everybody. So it's very clear where it's a win-win. Generally, and it's generally very clear when it's a win-win. More importantly, we actually have a strong, certainly from Michigan, we have a strong collaboration at the federal government. So there's a very strong collaboration between the city of Detroit and the federal government right now for obvious reasons. We also, certainly in my office, the automotive office, we have a strong collaboration with the DOD, the DOT, the DOL, DOC, and the DOE for obvious reasons. And of course, there is no automotive office quotes at the federal level. So we're involved with discussions that relate to advanced manufacturing and the automotive industry at the federal level. Yeah. So I used the word Switzerland earlier. I think it's important in the new world to be Switzerland, and so we're trying to be Switzerland so far as we're able. But quite honestly, we're also trying to run a business. And when I sit in front of the governor, he wants to know what I've done for him recently. And I don't blame him, because that's why we're driving a comeback in this state that was needed. Yeah, so if that helps. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Maybe we'll bring the session to an end. But one last question to Nigel. With the Scottish referendum coming up, is that a tartan tie you're wearing there, and are you wearing it on purpose?
Well, in the spirit of, it's a long time, I haven't lived in the UK for 18 years, but my response will be, "Och, I the new laddie."
Okay, well, thank you very much to the panel for giving us a great start to the conference. Thank you very much. We've got a great day ahead of us as we split into streams now. The next sessions will be on finished vehicle logistics capacity, basically, on this side, and supply chain will be in this room. They're the two sessions that we've got coming up next. But the rooms will be divided, so please take your things with you, your bags, your notes, and everything with you to make sure as we split the rooms up. Thank you, and enjoy your coffee break hosted by Sergère. Thank you.